Hey, Ron here from Military Images Magazine. Thanks for joining me today on Life on the Civil War Research Trail. The total number of Civil War dead, 750,000, that's 7.5 million in today's figures, is often mentioned in commemorations and other tributes. Far less noted is the number who survived. It's about 2 million veterans. That's 20 million in today's numbers. These survivors, these 2 million, left behind a staggering number of autobiographies, memoirs, and other recollections. Some of the best, I think, were written soon after the end of the service when events of the war and all of their experiences were fresh in their mind. And telling their stories, I think, were actually part of their recovery, trying to work through the pain and suffering, physical and mental, during their experience. I want to share a sample of one of them. It's this individual here. His name is John McGregor. He served as the surgeon of the 3rd Connecticut Infantry. McGregor was captured during the First Battle of Bull Run on July 21st, 1861. The story of who he was as a man and his Civil War experience can be glimpsed in his wonderful and unique autobiography, The Life and Deeds of John McGregor. I want to share 8 quotes from the book that I think give you a sense of who he was, what he experienced, what he was working through when he wrote the book. So here we go. First quote. He was educated, believed, acted according to the principles of Abraham Lincoln. Second quote. When a man in the doctor's position was ready and willing to leave his home, his friends, his large practice, and almost everything which makes life desirable to enter the army, and to be subjected to all the sufferings and hardships of war, others were ready to follow his example. He never would encourage men to do what he dared not do himself. His motto was, "Men follow." Third quote. The morning of July 21st, he went with his regiment to the battlefields and there stopped at a house which was used as a hospital for our wounded. He remained there through the day, faithfully attending his duties. When the retreat was ordered, I rode up to the hospital. The doctor came to the door, all besmeared with blood. I told him that a retreat was ordered, and for his own safety, he had better leave at once. He asked me if there was any preparation for removing the wounded men. I told him there was not. He then turned and went into the hospital. As he turned, he said, "Major, I cannot leave the wounded men, and I shall stay with them and let the result follow." This was the last time I saw him. Quote 4. At last, I was taken from the prison pen at Salisbury and left upon the banks of the James River, completely destitute. For what purpose I was left there, in that condition, I can assign but one reason, and that is that they left me there to die. I took survey of my situation, and while doing so, these words flashed through my mind: hope on, hope ever. Quote 5. As the steamer slowly moved up the river, something seemed to say, "Now is the time for you to make an exertion." I at once began to do everything which I could to attract their attention. Soon I was overjoyed to see the steamer stop. I could see that they were lowering a boat, and soon I saw them pulling for the shore. At first, they thought that I was placed there as a decoy to entrap them, but after the captain had viewed me through his glass, he thought otherwise and ordered his men to come and see what I wanted. I told these men that I had been a prisoner for a long time and wished to get once more within the Union lines. Quote 6. I had an interview with the President and Secretary Stanton. At that time, all the reliable information which could be gathered concerning the rebels' movements was highly prized. I was constantly surrounded by reporters, but after I had given the President and the Secretary Stanton all the information which I could concerning the South, I closed the doors upon the reporters. Quote 7. As he entered the village, the bells in the steeples commenced ringing out the glad tidings, And at the same moments, many familiar voices broke the stillness of the evening by singing one of his favorite hymns, Home Again, Home Again. He then discovered that he was surrounded by the people of the village who had turned out in a mass to receive him. He was then escorted to his home, the multitude dispersed in a quiet manner, and he was left to enjoy once more the presence of his family and friends. He arrived home on Saturday evening, August 3rd, 1862. Quote 8, the final quote. At times, he was almost afraid that he would become demented. His experience in the 14 months seemed like a horrid dream than a reality. But as time passed on, his flesh and strength returned, his mind became more clear, and he was ready to go at them again. So there you have it, the story of John McGregor and his experience as a soldier, as surgeon, and as a prisoner of war at the Battle of Bull Run, a 12-month ordeal that he survived and managed to escape all the horrors of prison, at least the physical horrors. They almost killed him. The mental torture is something that he had to deal with on his own. And I do believe that writing this book, which was also a group activity, some of his family also participates in the writing of this. So it's really quite an interesting volume, and only one of so many that are out there. And I recommend this and other volumes to you. The story of McGregor ends on a positive note, right? It's 1862. He's talking about getting to the war, back into the war. He doesn't do that. He winds up staying with his family and supporting the war from home. He barely lives to enjoy peace, dying in 1867. So there you have it. Until next time, we'll see you on the trail.